Nobody's going to see it coming until they get absolutely hammered, just like they did in 1999 with Beanie Babies.
Look at a $4 or $5 little Beanie Baby that, oh, these are selling for $65 now, or these are $2,000 for the really rare ones. And the kids loved them. So we decided to start collecting Beanie Babies. I think that's how it all started.
What's going on, sports, card, hobby, family? How are we doing, everybody? I hope that you're doing amazingly well. As we talk about it, I think it's 1,000 degrees. It is hotter than Mars here in North Carolina. Good news though, the neighborhood pool, they got all the glass out, drained it, refilled it. We are back in business and I am all ready for it. Actually, I think we're going to a wedding this weekend. Who's excited about going to a wedding with the whole family? Nobody. Nobody's ever excited about that. I just kid. I kid. We have got our Tuesday shout outs, Wooten sports cards. You're on the Whatnot machine and you're like, man, I want to go to a place, a happy place where there's really good inventory, where there's 5-star reviews and 12,000 followers. And that would be Wooten Sports Cards on Whatnot. Make sure to check him out this week. Card Capsule, you're sick and tired of paying a premium for supplies. You can get better supplies at a lower price. And with the Sports Card Dad coupon code, you can get 10% off your order at cardcapsule.us. JustCollect.com, you've got a collection to sell, but you have no idea what it's worth. They got an easy little appraisal form there. Reach out to them over at justcollect.com and they will take care of you. VintageBreaks.com, $25 credit for new customers if you shout out Sports Card Dad in their YouTube chat on the Vintage Breaks YouTube channel. $25 to have at it and give VintageBreaks.com a try. Also, don't forget to check out Waxstat.com. My buddy Al has built a website, believe this or not, that updates many times a day for wax prices. So you're trying to figure out, oh my God, where am I going to go to buy wax? The new product's coming out. Where is it the cheapest? Waxstat.com. Check it out. All right, before we get started, PSAcard.com has rolled out what we already kind of knew. It's that new video. Frank, do we have the video where Ryan is talking about what they're doing over there with the eBays? Do we have that? Go ahead and fire it up.
We announced this partnership in April with the vision for a seamless selling experience. Here's what that means to you, the collector who likes to stay fluid and nimble, holding the cards you love and moving the ones you don't. But what you like less is the time spent creating listings, taking photos, packaging, shipping. With eBay Connected, PSA is ready to handle all that on your behalf. Every card with PSA, vaulted or submitted for grading, is now one step away from a 7-day eBay auction hosted by PSA on our eBay storefront and marketed with details and imagery to an ocean of buyers who value authenticity. 2 ways to consign your card, from your PSA vault or direct from grading once service is completed. There's no quicker way to put your PSA graded cards in front of buyers, or easier. Listing, imaging, packaging, shipping, leave those with us and focus on the fun one, collecting. The cost of doing business is a single seller fee to PSA with payouts sent swiftly and securely to your bank account. Seamless from start to sold, and I'm excited for you to give it a spin.
So now you grade with PSA and you have that option. You can send it home, you can send it to the PSA vault, or sell on eBay. Very interesting 7-day auctions. They don't have the bin option at this point, but I know for a lot of flippers, for a lot of buyers, sellers, there's certain cards where you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'll grade this out and I'm happy to shoot it off onto a 7-day eBay auction. And so that is now available to you. I kind of like, as an industry as a whole, I think you gotta like the new options that have come along. You know, another channel partner, ComC, they continue to add new features. You can now grade cards through ComC. They run auctions through ComC. PSA, now you can list on eBay without ever doing anything. You don't have to ship back and ship out. A lot of the shipping stuff you don't have to worry about. They're cutting down on that friction where you can very easily buy, sell, grade, sell. You know, it's all becoming a lot easier. And that's something I think a lot of people are like, man, the sports card boom and the pandemic boom, man, there was a lot of bad things that came out of it. One good thing that came out of it, though, is companies innovating and offering new services and new features. I'm not so sure if we didn't have that big boom going back a few years, if all of these companies wouldn't be doing all the things that they're doing today, or at least at this speed. They have certainly picked it up here over the last few years. So very interesting things that are happening over there at PSA in conjunction with eBay and so forth. All right, we got to talk about Wembanyama cards. I saw this come out. Our buddy Ryan over at gemrate.com, he had put out a staggering statistic, basically just to kind of give you an idea of where we are. And I know a lot of you are going to say, you know what, you are being ridiculous and you're really stretching when you say that Victor Wembanyama cards are the new Beanie Babies. How dare you? How dare you? There are people that literally just flopped on the ground, started screaming. They might have had a plate of food they were eating, and then they put that on, they heard that, and they just chucked that plate of food against the wall, just screaming into a pillow. But guys, they have already graded at PSA, just PSA, not SGC, not Beckett, not all the other companies. PSA only, they have already graded 200,000 plus cards for Victor Wembanyama, or they're approaching 200,000 cards, probably in the next few days if they're not there already. And some people might think, no, that's not a big deal. To give you an idea of what that means, Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 3 players that also have years and years, decades of cards that were made. All 3 of those players combined don't have 200,000 PSA graded cards. Wembanyama in his first 12 months of cards being available, not even maybe 7-8 months of cards being available, has more cards graded by PSA than those 3 all-time greats. Barkley, you might not call him an all-time great. I do. I think he's you know what? Just his personality alone throws him into the all-time great category. He was on the 92 Dream Team. Anyway, the point is you have 3 players that have had cards for decades. Combine them, and they have less than Victor Wembanyama. That tells me that the supply, and we don't even have all the sets out yet. Panini's still way behind on getting everything out. I mean, that tells you right there how many Prism cards. Just Prism, you know, are the print runs the same as the year before? Of course, they don't put those numbers out, but it is clear as day that they are not the same. They have printed way more cards, Prism, than in years past. That is completely obvious. Obviously, we don't have the numbers, we don't have the breakdown. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, though. The grading companies tell you, and 200,000 cards for Wembanyama in 6, 7, 8 months of him even having cards, 9, 10 months, whatever it is unbelievable. And so when I say, well, you know, Wemby cards are the new Beanie Babies, well, what happened with Beanie Babies? You had supposedly low supply on certain Beanie Babies, and you had a lot of hype around them, you had a lot of interest, and that's also called demand, the supply and the demand part. But what happened with Beanie Babies? The demand fell off in large part, bigly. The demand fell off bigly. And so then all you have is a ton of supply that nobody wants, and it's a race to the bottom. Now, Wembanyama, he's going to be popular for a while. He's always going to have some demand, assuming he has a stellar career and stays on the court and all those sorts of things. But just think about that. Just try to wrap your head around the volume. Think about how high the demand has to be for this guy to be able to maintain these prices. So clearly, I mean, look, if you're short-term flipping Wemby cards, then that's one thing. But my God, if you are trying to buy and hold Wembanyama cards, wait, because you've got time, friend. You've got time. There's plenty of them out there, and there's going to be plenty of them graded. You've got all sorts of options here. No need to rush. If you're a long-term holder for Wembanyama cards, sit back, enjoy the show, and then maybe in a couple years, maybe in a few years, look back at it. And you know what? Here's the thing is you might be all about it now, and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to wait a couple years, few years, and then you wait a couple years, you're like, there's no way in hell I would buy his stuff. Taking that time to really think through it, I think it makes a lot of sense. I made the comparison. I did another video where I compared Wemby to Shaq.
Absolutely. Hold on, he's flying through the clouds.
You can't include that.
Heck, I am including it.
You know, Shaq had an amazing career. Shaq came into the league as an absolute tornado, a force, the LSU Classic card. I mean, I remember being a kid and Shaq was everything. Penny Hardaway and Shaq in Orlando. It was a lot. I lived in Florida. Ton of fun back then trying to chase those rookie cards. But again, those guys came out in an era where they were just printing, and all that stuff is worthless. Yeah, they have, some fairly limited cards, but for the most part, they just printed a lot of the same stuff. And you might say, oh yeah, well, it's different now. We have numbered cards for Wembanyama. And that's true. I mean, look, the 1-of-1s and all that stuff, those aren't going to zero, but silver prisms and stuff, I mean, how many of those are going to be available? How many of them? And the base prism, forget about it. Forget it. I mean, all that stuff is going to be widely available, and it's just so watered down. It's so watered down on those parallels. So again, at the tippity top of the Wemby market, sure, maybe that stuff holds value, but it also, keep in mind though, the guy's got to have a career. If you're going to put in the huge money on the 1-of-1s and the golds and all that stuff, maybe those are semi-safe-ish if he has a Shaq-like career. Most people would love to have Shaq's career. But, I mean, there's so much downside to it buying in right now. You have these sky-high prices, and, I mean, what's the upside at this point? Are you buying on the high end of Wemby, are you buying a $200,000 card? What are you hoping it goes to? And again, I can't see the future. Maybe Wemby cards do go up. Maybe that $200,000 card is a $500,000 card at some point. But man, that's a lot of money. A lot of money, man. $200,000 buys a lot in the sports card world in terms of already established players. I mean, Michael Jordan is the GOAT of basketball. $200,000, whether you're buying a single card or you're buying multiple nice Jordan cards, you can buy a fair amount of nice stuff in that range, let alone like a great Wemby card. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. So Beanie Babies and Wemby cards, they are actually closer comparison than you might think. All right, my friends, that is all I've got today. I hope that you all are doing amazingly well.
We got a 1987 Fleer!
Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.